and welcome to issue number 2 of Detective Comments, a Batman podcast. I'm James Attias.
And I'm Steve J. Ray. And in every issue, we'll look at a different aspect of the Dark Knight over his 10-decade, 85-year history.
We'll also be looking at members of the Bat family.
And the Caped Crusaders' extensive rogues gallery. But obviously, I set the subject for issue number 1. So, James, hit me. What are we going to be talking about today?
Well, when I saw your T-shirt, I thought that you were perfectly dressed for a little surprise. My topic is, and I've written it down because I want to be very specific, if a Batman movie or TV show director could do one more film or season, who or what would you want to see? So what I'm talking about is like the Burton Batman Returns, if there was a third, or the Schumacher Batman Forever, Batman and Robin, if there was a third, the Nolan trilogy, if it was a quadrilogy, any of that, like Zack Snyder's Justice League 2, or even an Adam West Batman another season. Who would you want to see one more run of?
Man, that's a subject that I could talk about all day long. And the best part is some of our dreams are coming true this year. So, wow. Okay, where to start? Whew. Can we talk about the animated series too?
I knew that if I mentioned the animated series, we'd both be like, of course it's going to be the animated series. So yes, we can. And it can be...
Because it's happening.
Which villains would you want to see? Like everything.
Yeah. Because we know that Batman the Caped Crusader is coming, and one of the lead writers for season 1's Ed Brubaker, who had a stellar run at Batman comics as a writer himself, and Alan Burnett, Paul Dini, Bruce Timm, the legends behind Batman the Animated Series, who to me, you know how I feel about that show because you feel the same way. After the comics, it's the best Batman-related media in existence. So the fact that those three legends are uniting with Ed Brubaker to create a new series which we'll be able to see in the UK because it's coming. It's coming to Prime. It's not going on Max. Dude, I mean, the fact that it's not going to have network censorship, it's going to be a bit more gritty, a bit more violent. We're going to see blood. We're going to see Batman at his street crime level fighting best. That's what I prayed for, and we're actually getting it.
Yeah. So in terms of Caped Crusader, if we're going for early Batman, it looks very like long ears, kind of like classic 1930s type. But does that give them more of a, okay, we're early days Batman now? Are we going to get an early days Joker, early days Penguin, early days Riddler? Or does it mean that we're going to have Hugo Strange and the Monster Men? Like things like that. Is it going to be Batman during World War I, World War II kind of era? Like in between those two, like where will it lie? And of course, we've mentioned Kevin Conroy in Every Time a Tear. Of course, there's rumors he's recorded a bit. If I had to place a bet, I would say it's a voice of Thomas Wayne because he loves a little ghost voice of Thomas Wayne. I'd bawl. But without him, they need a new Batman. They need a new voice. Yeah. Troy Baker took over in the Arkham games, in Arkham Origins.
And in Batman Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, we played Batman and Joker, and he was fucking incredible.
Was that Troy Baker? Was that
Roger Troy Baker did Batman and Joker in Batman Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. He did both roles.
I thought he did Batman and Joker in the Telltale series, and that was Roger Craig.
Might have done as well. I don't play the game, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah. But yeah, either way, you've got options. I heard Diedrich Bader.
Yeah, very good.
Recorded some lines for it, but it didn't sound like he was going to be Batman because when he said it was cancelled, he tweeted saying, "Damn, I was in this." He didn't. That doesn't sound like damn, that's my show. I was Batman.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he's always also voiced multiple characters throughout. He's been Guy Gardner. He's obviously
and Batman. Yeah.
Brave and the Bold. Yeah. So you've got options.
So many. I think they should cast us two personally, but
yeah, that'd be good. One could do Batman.
We could do 3 or 4 voices each.
Yes.
I know I could. I've done it on one advert. So, I mean, that would have been my wish list. That would have been to bring somehow back Batman the Animated Series, but that's kind of happening. So that's one ticked off. But in terms of the movies, it's harder. God, this is a good topic.
Because obviously they've done a few of the comics, haven't they? We've seen Batman 89 come back.
So good.
Midway through the second.
So good.
And we get Madonna as Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
And Jeff Goldblum. And this is Brundlefly Jeff Goldblum. This is
wonderful. I can hear the voice and everything.
Me too. I read it and you hear like people fear, as you were. Like, it's just
it's wonderful. And the choice of artist as well. I mean, the visuals and the script. I mean, it's Sam Hamm writing it. Yep. Sam Hamm's writing the comic, and he wrote and co-wrote the first two Tim Burton Batman films. So no one could have been better. A new Robin, but that same Anton Furst nightmarish hell that came out of the sewers and grew into Gotham City architecture. So we're getting Tim Burton's Batman back as well. But I'm going to be a little bit controversial here, James, and I may surprise you here.
Hit me.
I like the Christopher Nolan films. I think they're brilliant at a real-world Batman.
Yep.
But I think they got a lot more wrong than they got right from the very end of the first film with Batman letting Ra's al Ghul die, because he would never do that. The real Batman would never do that. Christian Bale's Batman voice just grates on me. Dark Knight, that whole ending with Two-Face should have been the beginning of Dark Knight Rises. They should have ended it with the capture of the Joker. In my opinion, that film ran too long, and that end totally breaks the momentum and action of that film. And I love Dark Knight Rises because it's the most comic booky. It's the most that feels like a Batman comic book with Bane. And a lot of people think that's the worst. So that's just my opinion, because I'm more of a comic book fan than a movie and TV fan. So honestly, I think the Nolan trilogy should be left alone. I wouldn't want to see more of that.
I'm going to respond to you with my new signature. I have two replies. My first reply is, I don't know if you knew this, my voice is in The Dark Knight Rises. I sent in a recording doing Bane's chant, and I got a letter back, Warner Brothers, everything. Like, it was a YouTube thing. So all the millions and millions of voices. So that's a little claim to fame. And my second response is an apology to all of our listeners about Steve, who's talking about the Dark Knight trilogy in the slightest negative way, because we know how the internet will respond. I would just like to say, Christopher Nolan, I love you, and I love the trilogy. And my third and final point, now that I've rambled on, I've rambled so much that I can't even remember my own point. Yes, I went in my youth. I would say to my friends about the Nolan trilogy, because obviously comic book friends, comic book nerds, they would be like, that isn't the Joker's origin story. That isn't Bane. Bane doesn't, like, I would say, if these stories are so realistic, then treat these as the real events, and the comic books were based off of these. So, like, did you hear about, like, that Batman guy? He used to run around with a kid named Robin. They never had to say that he was wearing tights. He was a kid named Robin. Like, did you hear about Bane? Like, he broke Batman's back, and then, like, he was a mammoth guy, like, and he had a mask that put chemicals into him. Like, treat it like these are the real stories, and the comic books and the stories that came after are the folklore and the tales to be told. That's how I like to look at them.
And that's a great way of looking at it. But to me, they're still very good films, and I watch them every time they're on. But they're not particularly good Batman films. They're not particularly good comic book films. That's just my opinion. They're great films, perfectly made, brilliantly directed. But that's not Batman. To me, the only film that's come close to getting everything right about Batman is Matt Reeves' The Batman. That's the Batman I know, who goes from figure of darkness, hiding in the shadows, to, by the end of the film, coming out into the light and saving people and becoming Gotham's protector. That's Batman to me. And
I love how much you love The Batman. So I'll respond to The Batman with a Christopher Nolan Batman quote. Commissioner Gordon at the end of Batman Begins talks about escalation, which is a homage to Batman Year One.
Yeah, totally.
And if Matt Reeves, the Batman trilogy or quadrilogy or however many they make, as many as we can get, we hope, do you believe that if they stay grounded, then there'll be another version of the Dark Knight films? Or do we need escalation? Do we need a monster, supernatural, meta-human villain for the sequel? Like, because there's talks of Clayface, there's talks of Mr. Freeze, there's talks of, like, Hush, people like that. I want to see a Batman villain that has an edge. Like, Riddler had an edge and it was his mind. Great. fine. Joker always has an edge because it's his madness. I want a villain that has a big weapon that isn't available in the real world, or a special power, or a chemical that makes them super strong. Like, do you think that the Batman verse, the Reeves verse, needs that supernatural element?
Yes, but not yet. I would prefer to see Hush, but he's got an edge because he knew Bruce Wayne from a child. They were best friends. And Hush is arguably your favourite Batman storyline of all time. So if they adapt that well, I would rather see that for the sequel than see your Jokers, your Banes, your Scarecrows, your Clayfaces in following films. Matt Reeves has said that it's going to be at least a trilogy. So if they bring that for episode 3 onwards, for now, I just want to see Batman grow as a hero, as a detective, as a character. And that's what I think the Matt Reeves film did brilliantly. I want to see the Batmobile get bigger, faster, and badder, because it was a character in its own right in that first film. Just the sound of it made every hair on my body stand up. And Gordon was perfect. And I like the fact that for once there was more Batman in the movie than there was Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne was almost, just like we've always said, the mask of the character. And I want to see Bruce Wayne develop and fit into his role as a Gotham socialite. Because what really annoys me with certain fans is that Batman is just there to fight crime when you could do more as Bruce Wayne. You can read a Batman comic, people. Bruce Wayne does so much good. Half the crooks he arrests or gets arrested or he rehabilitates, gives jobs to, helps their families, puts their kids through college. And people who say stuff like that clearly have never read a run of Batman comics in their life, because Bruce Wayne does all that shit. And that's what I want to see. Now that Batman's come out of the shadows, I want to see Bruce Wayne step into the light. Oh, that was deep. And that's what I think this set of films could do. Because again, unlike Christopher Nolan, who said he didn't really know much about Batman lore, and Tim Burton and Dan Waters, who was the other co-writer on Batman Returns, said they just made it up as we went on. Because clearly, Penguin's origin, Catwoman's origin, bared no resemblance to the comics, but they were still great comic book movies. Matt Reeves is a Batman fan, first and foremost, and you can feel that in every second of the Batman, which is probably why, to me, it's still the one that got the most right. But as for visual representation, Ben Affleck is Batman, straight out of the comic books. And I know people are going to say I'm a Zaddy, I'm a Snyder-phile, whatever else. I'm not, but I do love his films, and I do think he was shafted. I do think that the original cinematic version of Justice League was a travesty. So I would like to see more of Ben Affleck, but hopefully not in the horrific costume he wore in broad daylight in The Flash.
Thank you. Goodness, it was a crop top.
Yeah, but his Batman, the jawline, the fight scene in the warehouse in Batman vs Superman.
The warehouse will forever live on.
Man.
Of us, it will be watched by people in the future like, wow. Like, I remember when I saw that, I was sitting there and I was like, I needed to take a moment, because like, that is Batman. That's what Chris Nolan's Batman fights with a certain style, like elbows up, and it's like,
he's a pugilist.
Yep. And then you've got the Val Kilmer and George Clooney Batmans that kind of a little bit campy, a little bit like hit someone and like laugh, not laugh, but we'd laugh. And then the Burton one was just a bit of a one hit and you're down kind of Batman. Affleck's Batman is the comic book personified, taking on a warehouse full of people, like crashing his fist through walls, like stuff like that. That's what we've always wanted to see. And it just, when we saw it on screen in the grey suit as well, the grey suit that replaced the black that has been there for so long, that was just cinematic.
Since Burton, yeah, totally. Because the thing is, don't get me wrong, I do love the Nolan trilogy. Don't get me wrong, I love the films. They're brilliant films. But what annoys me about them is the people who worship them and think, oh, that's Batman. And that's what I don't like, is the people who come in from the movies and the TV shows who think, oh, well, that's the Batman. But sorry, Batman was around for 50 years before Tim Burton's Batman. And Tim Burton got things wrong, like the whole thing of... in Batman Returns, he literally sticks some dynamite down a clown's pants and throws him into a basement. Yeah. And no one batted an eyelid. Yet Ben Affleck runs a few villains over and the whole world's losing their shit. That's, yes, Ben Affleck Batman was a little bit too killy for my taste, but in every other respect, that's more the comic book Batman than any other Batman ever seen on screen. So to me, Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, and Zack Snyder's Justice League are a much better trilogy than Christopher Nolan's. As a comic book nerd, for me, I would rather watch those any day of the week. But it's personal taste, and no one's right, no one's wrong. If you love the Nolan trilogy, good on you. But don't think that is the be-all and end-all of Batman. Watch Batman the Animated Series because it's much better.
Yep. And Zack Snyder said that Ben Affleck's Batman didn't kill people, the Batmobile did.
Who was driving it? But I can live with that rather than purposefully sticking dynamite down a clown's pants.
Yeah.
And, all right, Christopher Nolan fans, the real Batman would never let Ra's al Ghul die. When he's driving the Batmobile and wrecking half the city, and Alfred's having a go at him, and he just says it's damn fine television, I didn't have the time to observe the rules of the road. No.
Yeah.
No, because there's no way people weren't injured or killed during that, or when he blows up the bridge to stop the monorail crashing into Wayne Tower. I'm sorry. So people who defend the Nolan films say, oh, that's much more Batman. Not really. No, not really. But they're great.
The perfect Batman movie trilogy. Mask of the Phantasm, Batman Sub-Zero, Batman Beyond Return of the Joker.
See, I don't like Batman Beyond Return of the Joker very much because of what they did to Tim Drake. But obviously Tim Drake was a new character, then they didn't realise the legend he would become, so I can forgive it.
He had for me, like Jason Todd, Tim Drake combined, didn't he?
Exactly. We talked about that in I Am the Night, yeah.
Oh, you're cutting me real deep today, man. Like the Dark Knight trilogy, the Return of the Joker, like I'm in shock.
I would agree with you, though. To me, the best Batman movie of all time is still Mask of the Phantasm.
Yep.
No doubt in my mind, that film is a masterpiece. And Sub-Zero is great, too. I would replace Return of the Joker with World's Finest, the Batman Superman movie.
Ooh, I love that one, too. Yes.
That would be my best.
Right, I'll take that. I'll take that, yeah. And Return of the Batwoman, A Mystery of the Batwoman, sorry.
It's not awful and it's not great. It's good. It's watchable.
And, well, when I was a kid and I watched it, I was like, oh, okay, it's going to be her. Then they introduced a new okay, it's going to be her. Then they introduced another, okay, it's going to be her. I was a fan of the triple red herring.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's how you do a mystery, because obviously it's not Scooby-Doo.
Oh, mate.
I wonder who the culprit could be.
But yet I still read the Batman Scooby-Doo mysteries because Scooby-Doo. And, again, icons of my childhood. So... so far I've just said what I like, what I don't like. What would you like to bring back? What would you think would be the best thing to bring back to our screens?
So, you know what? You had a controversial opinion, and it's me sitting here on my controversial opinion this whole time, acting like I did now. I think the Batman 89 and Batman Returns, perfect. Leave them as is, like they're their own little thing. We're getting the sequel comics, like Madonna as Harley Quinn, Billy D. Williams as Two-Face, like we've seen that in the comics.
Brilliantly done.
I love the Nolan trilogy. Mr. Nolan, if you're listening, I know sometimes you listen to some nerdy podcasts that you find on people's Facebooks that you don't follow. I love that too. I'm going to go for the Joel Schumacher.
I agree. But not the George Clooney, the Val Kilmer.
Oh, see, when I was a kid and they ended...
You're much younger than me, aren't you? Yeah.
They ended Batman and Robin with Batman, Robin, and Batgirl running at the camera with the signal. In my head, like I was talking to my parents, little 7-year-old James with buck teeth and a Batman T-shirt, like only just a little bit thinner than I am now, wearing a different Batman T-shirt. I said to my dad, does that mean the next film is going to be Batman and Robin and Batgirl? So I had this vision in my head. I was playing with the toys because obviously the toyetic film, as Joel calls it. I was like, oh, I can't wait, like because they had Poison Ivy, they had Bane, they had like Mr. Freeze. Next one, it's going to be even more bad guys. And like I remember seeing that there was going to be Batman Triumphant. That was going to be the title, and I feel like was it Nicolas Cage that was going to be Scarecrow, or again Jeff Goldblum?
I think you're right. Yeah.
There was going to be a Scarecrow, and to see that film and finish the story, like it does end well because obviously Alfred says his last line in the film. He's like, "We're going to need a bigger cave." What does that world look like? Because those films for me, when I was a child, like Batman Returns, scared the bejesus out of me. Like when
it's a borderline horror movie. Yeah, absolutely.
Knows I was like, like ah! But then the next two, it was colourful, it was campy, it was neon. There was like someone would slip and you get the whoop, like stuff like that, and I loved it. So as a kid, of course, I want more. But then I grew. The Batman film franchise took a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 year break, and Christopher Nolan came in with Batman Begins, with a young Bruce Wayne learning how to be Batman, and that hit me like a Batman shovel. Because I was like, he's about my age. He was older. I could do that. I couldn't. And it was just, and
if you had the money, you could.
If I had the money, I could. Like, I tried. I was going to the gym every day. I was doing pull-ups. I was doing one-arm push-ups badly, but it was an experience. And I would have liked to have seen what the Nolan trilogy, like before, I would have liked to have seen what the Batman Shoemaker trilogy would have been. I know that I'm forgetting there was another villain. I'm gonna stand by, kids. Let Dr. Google answer our question. Batman Triumphant. Okay, what have we got?
When you do that,
yeah,
I agree with you. I think the Schumacher films are much maligned and they're great fun. I could, with a kid, happily put down Batman and Robin for them and they'd love it. And then Batman Forever. And then, last of all, Batman and then Batman Returns to show how Batman started. That's what I would do for any children who wanted to get into Batman on film. But for me, Batman Forever is the strongest of the 4 films because, for me, Michael Keaton is a good balance of Batman and Bruce Wayne. George Clooney is a great Bruce Wayne, but his Batman was bordering on Adam West. Whereas Val Kilmer was perfect in both roles. When Robin says, "You can't stop me," and he just stands up in the caves and says, I can stop you. I believe it. When Robin is getting his butt kicked by that group of neon thugs in the alleyway, all Batman has to do is appear on the roof and spread his cape, and they all run.
Bolt.
That's Batman. The only thing for me that lets Batman Forever down is a little too much Jim Carrey. Apart from that, it's almost a perfect Batman movie because Kilmer is brilliant from start to finish. Michael Gough's the quintessential Alfred. And Chris O'Donnell as Robin in that film, I loved him.
He was hot.
I loved him.
Time.
Yeah.
Wanted him.
I love Batman Forever.
Get a little earring because he had one. Never did.
Do you not want to see the Schumacher cut of Batman Forever, the purported 3-hour cut that Kevin Smith keeps talking about?
I've seen
that. I want to see released.
I've seen an extended cut with unpolished scenes, but I would love to see the Shoemaker cut because there was so much more, like that giant bat in the cave that he's facing. Like
it's in the trailer.
Yeah.
When you saw it in the trailer, then when you didn't see it in the cinema, where's the giant bat? Where's the giant bat? Yeah,
that is the topic we're going to come back to. Scenes and trailers that aren't in movies.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what did Mr. Google say?
Here is the synopsis for Batman Triumphant, the third Joel Schumacher Batman film. 1 year after Mr. Freeze's defeat, Batman, Batgirl, and Robin face a mentally unstable scientist named Jonathan Crane, also known as the Scarecrow, and Harley Quinn, a toy maker and daughter of the Joker, who wants revenge on Batman for her father's death and offers an alliance to end the Batman for good. The cast would have been, it says here Michael Keaton, but I'm just going to go with George Clooney, Chris O'Donnell, Alicia Silverstone, Jeff Goldblum as Scarecrow, which we're kind of getting at the moment, Courtney Love as Harley Quinn.
What the what? Ouch.
A cameo from Jack Nicholson, a cameo from Michelle Pfeiffer, and Pat Hingle as Commissioner Gordon and Michael Gough as Alfred. Like, could you imagine?
I'd watch that.
I'd watch that. I'd read that. DC, please keep doing the sequels to the movies in comic book form. Superman 78.
It's brilliant. Brilliant.
So good.
Brilliant. And I'm going to show how sad I am now and what a big nerd I am now. Obviously, I read all the comics as they were coming out for Batman 89 and Superman 78. But as soon as I saw that the hardcover collections,
I know this one,
you could take off the dust jacket and it's a VHS tape. I just thought, my God, DC, this is why I love you. Just little hints like that I'm almost tempted to buy a second copy, especially as a second print of Batman 89 has got this as the cover, and Superman 78 has got the Superman logo as from the original movie as the cover, and have those as my reading copies with the dust jackets, and put the first prints without the dust jackets on my shelf so they look like VHS tapes. That's how nerdy I am, James. That's me. That's what I'm like. So, mate, yeah, I'd love to see
pure fan
Schumacher do more.
Like those comics, graphic novels, the dust jackets, everything. It is for the people like me and you who love that stuff so much. Like, we love the comics, we love the film, we love the little Easter eggs, little winks, like making it look like a VHS tape, because we 1,000% VHS tape on our shelf, and we'd sit there and look at it and be like, I wish I was watching that.
I mean, I love what you said about Batman and Robin, because obviously, you are a lot younger than me. So you saw that, and that was like, a revelatory moment, because I had the same thing with the comic book. Obviously, I grew up with Adam West. That was my Batman until I was about 9 years old. And you know the story. It's been told 1,000 times that some cousins from Canada brought some actual American comic books with them. And one of them was the first appearance of Leslie Tompkins and retold Batman's origin.
Yeah.
And that's why he dressed as a bat, White Fought Crimer's Night. And to me, that was my moment when, oh, wow. Batman was a little boy who was alone, a lot like I am.
Like I am.
But he turned that loneliness, turned that horrible thing that happened to him into something great. And he's got no powers. He can't fly. He can't shoot lasers from his eyes. I could possibly be Batman.
Odds and monsters.
Yeah. That comic for me was what the Schumacher films were to you. So I totally get that. And I'm sorry, I unapologetically love Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. Now, about camp and silly, however silly Batman and Robin got, it still wasn't Adam West Batman level silly. And Adam West Batman is sacred to me.
I'm very glad you brought up Adam West, because obviously let's talk about him, because he himself, what would be next? Let's talk about William Shatner as Two-Face. Oh,
perfect.
I would have loved to have seen that. And we did see it in the animated movie.
Yep.
That was fantastic. Return of the Caped Crusader. Yep. And just, even now, like 90-year-old Shatner is giving the perfect
wonderful
pauses. God, they really like casting pausing villains, don't they? Like Goldblum and Shatner. Oh, that would have been great. But then think about, who else could they have done? Who else could, and we have had the Batman Adam West comic book follow-up, the way they met Wonder Woman, Linda Carter,
magic. I mean, wouldn't you love, and it needs to happen, another comic with Adam West, Christopher Reeve, and Linda Carter?
And John Wesley Ship Flash?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that would still work. It's Earth 789, isn't it?
Yep.
They said it's one world. It's one of the parallel universes where Superman 78 and Batman 89 are. And obviously, that's the same era as Linda Carter's.
Yep.
It's only 1 year. Flash was Earth 90, wasn't he? The John Wesley Ship Flash. Oh, man.
I know, right?
Oh, man. Again, I'd pay to see that.
Me too.
And the fact John's still around and so is Linda.
Like, you could, and even Burt Ward, but you could write it, have it as a comic book, and we would buy it. You would buy 3 copies for the dust jackets. Like, DC, it will sell. How many fans in our age bracket would watch that, or would read that and be like, this is what I've waited for since I was a kid? And how many comic book fans younger than us would read that and be like, I might go back and watch those films, those series, because they were great.
The aspect of it I'd love.
So good. And bring back Mark Hamill as the trickster again. Always more Mark Hamill. If he can't come back as Joker without Kevin Conroy, bring him back as the trickster.
Hamill forever.
I'm
It's
all
one
for
of
it.
my hashtags on just about anything I see with the man's name on it. Absolutely. Those series, I mean, I'll be honest here. There was a period shortly after the first Tim Burton movie came out when people would say to me, what do you think of the Adam West Batman? And I'd lie and say, oh, I hated it, it's rubbish, that's not Batman. But it was the Batman of the time. It was the Comics Code Authority, Silver Age, Dick Sprang, Sheldon Moldoff, Jerry Robinson Batman. It was.
The Light Knight, yeah.
And as a child, it was pure magic. So in the 80s, I thought, no, being a nerd's much more acceptable than it was. I will actually be honest and say, yeah, Adam West was my gateway drug into Batman, but it's the comics that showed me the true Batman and made me the fan I am today.
We touched upon this in issue 1 about how that symbol on your hat is instantly recognizable. But you think about this, if you told someone to talk about Batman, after recognizing the logo, isn't always the next thing they do. And that's
Well,
West.
it's in our theme music. There you go. Because we want to cover the whole 10-decade, 85-year history of the greatest character in fiction.
Amen. So it's interesting how we talked about, with the more modern stuff, we talked about seeing villains that we'd like to have seen. But then in the Adam West case, we talked about seeing Adam West with, we'd mentioned Two-Face, but more heroes. Because obviously he teamed up with Green Hornet. That was like, when I was a kid as well, I was like, crossover! Like,
amazing.
But then, okay, so you've got Adam West teaming up with Superman and Linda Carter's Wonder Woman and John Wesley Shipp's Flash. All right, we'll squeeze him in there. Then Burton, would he be teaming up with Nicolas Cage's Superman, or would that be the Schumacher?
Obviously. No, it would have... Oh.
It's close, isn't it?
Because the only reason Tim Burton didn't do Batman Forever is because Warner was so terrified by Batman Returns. Because Batman Returns did well at the box office, but not as well as they projected after Batman 89. So that's when they brought in Schumacher to tone things down a little bit and brighten things up a little bit. So that's when Tim Burton said, "Rock, I'll do Superman instead."
Yep.
And people moan about it, but finally seeing Nicolas Cage's Superman, even if it wasn't in the greatest CGI of all time in the Flash movie, just made me happy. So I think it would have been Michael Keaton and Nicolas Cage.
Okay, so we got Keaton and Cage. Okay, in which case we have Kilmer/Clooney, maybe with Dean Cain Superman?
I don't want to talk about him.
Yeah, he's not great.
Yeah. As a human being, let alone anything else, yeah.
Yeah. It's,
how about Tom Welling?
Oh, nice, yes.
And again, Smallville had a whole range of characters. Aquaman, Green Arrow, so many, Supergirl.
Impulse, Flash, everything.
Yeah, I would love to see who their Batman would have been.
Yeah, they had a sequel comic as well where they introduced Batman. Like, I would have loved to have seen that.
Yeah, I never read those. I never read the Smallville comics, and maybe I should.
They threw in Green Lanterns, Yellow Lanterns, Batman. They had a bit of everything. Which
is why I want to go back to your thing, because I think the Superman 78, Batman 89 era, Lee Majors as Hal Jordan, the $6 million man.
Oh, yeah.
That, to me, would have been... Because, again, $6 Million Man was one of my childhood icons.
Yep.
And again, if you're going to do that, why not bring... what was the actress's name who played Jamie Summers, who played the Barnet woman? Lindsay something. She could have been an amazing Black Canary, or, I mean, you could have done so much.
Lindsay Wagner.
Lindsay Wagner, there you go. I knew it was Lindsay. Gil Gerard, who played Buck Rogers as a Guy Gardner type character. I mean, the actors of that period, the late 70s, early 80s, again, it's my childhood and teenage years. And so any one of those guys would have been brilliant. And as for the villains, your Goldblum as Scarecrow to me is inspired. Your Shatner back in the Adam West era as Two-Face, inspired. And apparently that was actually talked about if they'd have gone to a fourth season of Adam West's Batman, wasn't it?
Yeah, they sold off the set and the props. That was the only reason it didn't happen.
Oh man. Well, what we got was a perfect little package of its time, and we've got 2 animated movies as sequels. I can live with that.
I'm trying to think of. I've got a villain in my head, and it was the guy who was in The Prisoner. What was his name? Patrick McGoohan.
Oh yeah.
Get him in as a villain, like as a real. He's got a real sinister tone, like everything. He would have been great at the time. Like maybe like a not a Vandal Savage.
I think he'd do a good Vandal Savage. Or maybe even a Ra's al Ghul.
Ooh, yeah, yeah. Oh, I'm drawing a blank. Pedro Pascal played him in Wonder Woman 84. He's the comic book villain of
Morgan Edge.
No. Oh, what's his name? He's the one who killed Blue Beetle.
Morgan Edge. Not Morgan. No. Is this Morgan? It's not Morgan Edge. It's Oh my God! Wonder Woman broke his neck in Infinite Crisis.
What's his name? Oh, come on. No, where?
You turn around and pick up my Infinite Crisis book.
I've got it. Maxwell Lord.
That's it. The Morgan Edge of the Batman universe, yes.
Yep.
Yeah, Maxwell Lord. Oh, yeah. Wonderful. Okay, then. So, obviously, we got the perfect Lex Luthor in Smallville.
Yeah.
We got the perfect Lex Luthor for his era in Superman 78.
Oh,
who would we have as a Lex? Actually, no, because the Lex Luthor would be Gene Hackman for 789, wouldn't it?
And
for the Tim Burton universe, it would be the same guy, yeah.
Brainiac would be Grant Morrison.
He'd have been too young.
That made me smile when I saw that in the comic that they drew him to look like.
Yeah.
Because it was Alex Ross in Justice?
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Okay, we're going Christopher Reeves. What about George Reeve? And then Christopher Reeve be with Batman 89, and then Nicolas Cage be with the Forever and Robin crew.
If you've got George Reeves as Superman, cast who David Mazzucchelli used as his model for Batman, Cary Grant.
Very nice, yeah.
Because that is, to me, Bruce Wayne's face. Batman Year One is probably the most read comic series I own. I killed my first print trade paperback. I almost killed my original 4 issues. I'm on my 3rd trade paperback of that book, and I bought the facsimiles last month. Yeah.
I own the original issues, and I own trade paperback.
Yeah.
I did not buy the facsimiles because I don't need more. I have too much already.
You and I have had the conversation about my Hush and Batman Year One collection, which is ridiculous.
You were like, oh yeah, but like if it was Hush, you would have. They're like, yeah, if it was Hush, I would have.
Well, I did.
You did.
Original 12 issues, UK reprint 12 issues, Hush Unwrapped, Hush 20th Anniversary Edition, absolute Hush.
Well, since you brought up Hush, the best story ever written in terms of Batman comics, I'm going to ask this question. Does Matt Reeves using Hush in the second film, if it happens, take away the fact that Hush used almost all of Batman's villains, targeted almost all of Batman's family, and we're still on like a year 3, year 4 Batman where he doesn't have any of that?
We've got to remember, obviously, Hush ran for an entire year. It was 12 issues. There's no way that could fit in a 2-hour movie. To have Hush, and whose family has already been mentioned in The Batman.
Yep, the reporter.
Attack Batman just as he's becoming successful and stepped out of the shadows and starting to become a hero, to me will work as the one villain of the movie who gives Batman what for because he knows all his secrets. I think that would work wonderfully. The other villains, sometimes I think that what does let the Schumacher Batman movies down is they're almost overloaded with villains. There's almost too many.
You forget Batman's even in it.
Exactly. But there's that other argument that Batman's only great because he's got the best rogues gallery in fiction, and I agree with that as well. But at the end of the day, the name on the top of the door is Batman.
Yep.
It's not rogues gallery also featuring Batman on the occasional panel. So I think Hush, if handled as well as Riddler was, would be amazing. Because, again, I love the character and I love that story. I don't think it needs every villain in the world and Superman and Poison Ivy and everything else to make it a great story. Because the Hush animated film, I'm sorry, I hated it.
Really? Okay.
That ending and changing everything, why? It diminishes Tommy Elliott. So
I watched that the minute it came out. I was like,
of course you did.
Kathy Bates in Misery. I was like, first in line with my ticket in my hand. I watched it. And then I was like, how are they going to do this so that it's not a like for like with the comic? Because obviously everyone in there will be like, Tommy Elliott is the only other character. It's a Scooby-Doo. Whereas in the comics you had options. Then they changed the ending. And I was sitting there like, what have they done to my boy? But then the more I watched it more and more. It did catch us all by surprise. Is it shock value for shock value's sake, or is it changing something in an animated
something universe? New, yeah.
Like the consequences in the animated universe are far less than the consequences in doing it in continuity in comics.
Yeah. Yeah. But now that they're doing trilogies in the animated universe,
yeah,
Crisis on Infinite Earths is a trilogy of animated films. Watchmen is going to be a trilogy of animated films. I'd like to see Hush done properly, like in the comics, as a trilogy of animated films, because it was too short, too chopped, and everyone knows that Tommy Elliott is Hush. Even in the comics, it could have been Harvey Dent, it could have been Jason Todd, it could have been Tommy Elliott, it could have been any one of a number of characters. It could have been Riddler. To make it Riddler takes away from Riddler and takes away from Tommy Elliott, in my opinion. So Hush is a film I've seen once and will never see again, like Superman 4.
I think my biggest problem with it was they gave him a question mark scar on his forehead. That for me, I was like, okay, like a question mark scar, honestly.
Even the question mark mohawk in the early days of Scott Snyder's run was a bit much for me.
Yeah, no, don't give me that. Give me the Mutton Chop Riddler in Scott Snyder's run.
Yeah, or the Mutton Chop Riddler in Tom King's run. War of Jackson Riddles, yeah. Then that Riddler for me, and the Riddler from One Bad Day, and Paul Dano. That to me is a Riddler that I can get behind.
Here's a Riddler that is often overlooked because it was like a brief little stint. Tynan's Batman run, the Riddler that was on the meth and the amphetamines to keep him awake, to be plugged in, whose spine had curled from him being at his computer. Spine looked like a question mark, which when I saw that page of Riddler, skinny, been up for like 62 hours, just plugged in, I was like, that's effing scary.
And clever and in character.
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, I'd like, honestly, because obviously we've got Oracle, who's the go-to for tech and information in the DC universe for their good guys. But for some reason, they put Calculator as the guy for the villains. And Calculator as a villain himself, I don't know if you remember the Marshall Rogers era, again, was almost Kite Man level what? And that costume was so late 70s, it was horrible. I think Riddler would be a much better choice for the go-to tech information guy. And seeing that, I was hoping that's what they do with him. Because again, everyone loves and raves about Tynan's Detective Comics, but his Batman run divides fandom right down the middle. Again, I loved it. But I'm a Tynan fan.
When I was reading it, I'm like, Bruce and Selina got married in the last issue of Tom King's run. They didn't have a ceremony. They held hands and they said, we're married. Fine. I took that as, okay, they are married. Then the next issue, the Tynan Batman run, it's like all of the evil plans, the designer was his name, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We have to be apart for a year to clear our heads. And I'm like, a year in comic books could be
10 years.
Yeah. And as soon as I read that, I was like, you have to separate for a year. You do your stuff, I'll do mine. And I was just like,
I mean, let's put that into context. Dick Grayson said he was Robin for about 6 years, whereas in real time it was like 4 decades.
Yeah.
So, but again, just because you're married doesn't mean you have to live in each other's pockets. And the love was still there. I could kind of live with that because of everything else he did. Ish.
Yeah.
because we all want Batman to be happy, but can he be? And that's a topic for a whole other podcast, I think.
All right, I'll throw a wild card at you. Batman gets married to Catwoman. Batman is happy. Batman is still Batmaning Batman and Catwoman together. How bad would it be if Catwoman died in action?
Ooh.
No one ever talks about this. She always talks about like Gotham needs you, and if you're happy, then Gotham will. What if she dies in action? We always see what happens with Catwoman when Batman dies.
Yeah, the old Earth 2 before Crisis, Batman Killing Time, the Batman Catwoman.
What happens if Catwoman dies? Like, because Batman's lost. He's lost his mum and dad. He lost Jason Todd for a bit, which still haunts him.
Yeah.
Alfred is now.
Well, don't even get me started about Alfred. I cry every time I don't see him.
And they could have brought him back, and they didn't, which I'm glad about, because when he died, it actually shows there's some consequence. I have a feeling Commissioner Gordon's days are numbered coming up.
Don't. I can't lose him as well. Losing Alfred was better. Let's remember, Jim appeared in Detective Comics 27 the same time Batman did.
Yep.
That we didn't get Alfred until the late 50s. And that was Alfred Beagle, not even Alfred Pennyworth, the bumbling, useless, bald Alfred. Oh, no, not Jim. Not Jim. I mean, when Jim got shot in Officer Down was bad enough for me. And when Jim had his heart failure when he first married Sarah and they both got fat, that was enough for me during the Alan Grant, Norm Brayfogle Detective Comics run. Don't kill Jim. Don't kill Jim. Don't kill Jim. Have him as a PI. Leave Montoya as commissioner because I love her. And again, she appeared in the animated series first. I mean,
she's being pulled.
That's how great that series is. She's
the commissioner. She's by the book.
Yeah.
She's in New York, being offered jobs with Luke Fox. Not Luke Fox, the other Fox.
Jace Fox, Tim Fox.
Jace Fox, sorry, I couldn't get there. Jace Fox is Batman. Then in Detective Comics, she's running around as the Question. And I'm just like, pick a lane for her. Because if she's the commissioner, let her be the commissioner. Let her be the Jim Gordon figure, but her own character's version. If she's given up being the Question, okay, let her give up being the Question. Don't have one story say one thing, one story say another thing, and another story not acknowledge either. That really grinds my bunions when it comes to comic books, when they don't have.
You and I feel the same way. Yeah, I remember the days when Batman and Detective were almost one series. And a lot of people complained about that because they only wanted to connect one title, not the other, or not both. But to me, when you don't have any continuity at all, it's worse. I would prefer there to be some kind of cohesion.
I think it's Star Trek Insurrection, where it's the wedding between Will Riker and Deanna Troi. And at the wedding, they threw in the characters that had completely gone their own way, gone on different journeys, died, whatever, just for the wedding photo. And the fans were in uproar. Why should the comic books be any different where a character is, like, say someone is mind possessed. Someone is like being controlled by a villain, like Superior Spider-Man style. I remember Marvel did it really well when there was an Avengers level threat. You'd see Spider-Man in the background, and guess what? He wouldn't be web-slinging happy Spider-Man. He'd be like, citizen, come this way to safety. Like, there you go, that's Superior Spider-Man. It feels like DC needs to, I know they used to do this, have Bat Family meetings where all the people who are writing Bat-related or Batman or Batgirl or...
The annual Bat Summit, yeah.
That's it.
But that's because Denny O'Neil was editor.
Just have that, and it will do a world of good for the books, because then all of a sudden they will feel connected again. Because right now there's a real divide, and I don't know if it's on purpose, but it's just, it really does.
I mean, I don't want to go back to the days where, because I did it, you had to buy every issue of Batman, Detective, Nightwing, Robin, Catwoman, Azrael, Gotham Knights, what was the other one? Batman Chronicles. You had to buy like 8 titles a month to keep the whole story going. I don't want to go back to those days.
I was going to say, you say we don't still do that now.
Oh, well, yeah, we do. But at the very least, the 2 core titles, DC's flagship titles, Batman and Detective, should have some level of cohesion and connectivity. because I know you're not the biggest fan of Ram V's Detective Comics. I'm absolutely loving it because it's so out there. But when the F is it set?
Yeah.
Does he have a robot hand? Does he not have a robot hand? They're both taking different aspects of Grant Morrison's run. Ram's using Dr. Hurt, and Chip Zdarsky's gone mad on the Batman of Zur-En-Arrh.
Yeah.
Are these stories actually really happening? Is it all in Batman's mind? Both, neither? And how do they connect? And that's what I miss. You've got your Batman Brave and the Bold. You've got your Justice Leagues, whatever else. You've got the frequent appearances of Batman as Nightwing's sidekick in Nightwing, which I'm adoring, by the way. Batman the Detective, yeah, they need that cohesion. And once again, you and I, being the nerds that we are, have completely gone off the topic of what we're actually supposed to be talking about and the TVs and the movie shows. But it does still, I think, tie in, because we want more of what we saw in some of the films and TV shows, and we want more of our comics. Is that a bad thing?
Us going off topic onto another topic is almost our signature, because we just, it naturally goes there and we roll with it. I'm going to bring something up now that I've just thought of. Something, as always, you inspire me, I inspire you. I'm getting tired of studios doing movies set in the world of Spider-Man, movies set in the world of Batman, TV shows like Gotham, where it's all about the villains without the hero. Gotham, the TV show, had
amen to that, brother.
Every single Batman villain established before he even became Batman. So by this point, they're on a first name basis. And Spider-Man, like, obviously Madam Web, Kraven the Hunter, like Morbius, like, they're trying to connect it. Even Venom, like, they're films about these villains who are, like, some of them are mirror reflections of the hero, like the shady side of that hero. Nowhere to be found. And it's mind-boggling, because obviously they did it with Joker, and obviously he won an Oscar. It was a wonderful film, like, as its own standalone. But then if Joker is like Joaquin Phoenix's age, is he late 40s, early 50s now? Like, Bruce Wayne's 10. You imagine peak Batman fighting against an 80-year-old Joker.
That's why I think in this universe, this is a Joker universe without a Batman, or their offspring is the villain who fights the Batman of that universe. I mean, I don't know. Because, again, we've had that, and again, it's been cleared up brilliantly by Chip Zdarsky in his run. Has the Joker been around from the beginning of time, waiting for Batman? And I can almost see that Joker spreading his madness throughout time until the Batman's there to stop him. So, I don't know, but that's just the way my brain kind of sort of works.
All right, I'm gonna emotionally manipulate now, because you said you made your feelings clear about the Nolan trilogy. We've made our way through each one as we've gone. How would you feel about the fourth film, Nolan quadrilogy, being a Nightwing film with Robin John Blake? Because I know you love Nightwing.
Hell yeah.
Exactly.
I'd watch that.
There you go.
Because we all know that in comics continuity, it's Richard John Grayson after his father.
Yep.
And obviously, this is a Dick Grayson that wasn't adopted by Batman, because at that point, Batman was smashed, battered, he'd retired, and he'd vanished for 8 or 9 years. So for him to still become a cop, still become a hero, still become... Everyone moans about the Rick Grayson era, which everyone knew was temporary, and still showed that training or no training, Batman or no Batman, Titans or no Titans, Dick Grayson was a hero in his DNA to his core. And by issue 75, he was back. The end of Batman Dark Knight Rises shows that. And the fact that he changed his name legally to John Robin Blake, or he was named Robin as his middle name, just to me was like, oh, finally, a nod to the comics. But I see that John Blake actually becoming the second Batman more than becoming Nightwing, because he was never Robin.
Okay.
I would watch the shit out of that, because I honestly think he's a brilliant actor.
Yep.
And Bruce more or less passes the mantle to him anyway.
Yep. And we didn't get a proper Riddler in that universe. We didn't get a proper Penguin. There's a bunch of options of who. We didn't get Barbara Gordon, and we know that Jim Gordon had a son, James Gordon Jr., which we, if you've read the comics,
scary, scary, scary man.
So there's options, and again, all of this is possible for the mere price of, well, you could hire us, DC. We've got artist friends. They could draw it, and then you just publish it for us and watch the money come in. Like, it's not out of this world. It's not out of the realm of possibility. Sometimes I feel like they don't publish these sequel stories because they want to keep it in their back pocket if they ever want to make it.
Agreed. And that's why we're getting gems like Batman 89 and Superman 78. And they're pure magic. But let me twist your actual topic on the head for a little bit. Because obviously, we got Jim Carrey as Riddler, we got Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face. But originally, when Tim Burton was still in charge of the Batman films, and this to me is one of the greatest losses in cinematic history, who they wanted for Riddler was Robin Williams.
Yep.
What other casting things that didn't happen that really should have, do you think we would have loved to have seen? Because for me, Robin Williams as the Riddler would have blown everything else out of the water.
I'd give a limb to see that. Like, I would have loved that, because 1 Hour Photo, where Robin Williams plays the creepy, like, obsessive,
amazing.
It's one of my all-time favorite films ever. And to see him take on a Batman, a la Christopher Nolan's Insomnia, phone call, murderer, like, that would have been so much fun to see. And imagine Batman Forever with Robin Williams and Billy D. Williams. Oh, Williams.
Yeah.
Never placed that.
Tommy Lee Jones, I liked his take on Two-Face. But because he shared so much screen time with Jim Carrey, being Jim Carrey in a tight costume, he was just overshadowed and upstaged. And that's not fair, because Tommy Lee Jones, to me, I mean, just look at everything else he's been in. The 2 Fugitive movies, Under Siege. Man's fantastic.
Yeah.
And that's why the only thing I don't like about Batman Forever is this too much Carey being Carey. And I like Jim Carrey. But to have Robin Williams as the Riddler, I mean,
now,
again, could you have seen Madonna, even though she can't really act, as Harley?
There's another actress that I would have play Harley. And if you've seen films like The Craft or Waterboy, I think I'll want to pronounce her name right. It is Fairuza Balk. Do you know who that is?
The name rings a bell, but I can't place it because I don't think I've seen either of those 2 films.
You give that a Google. She is the Harley Quinn that never was. And she has the look. She has the intensity. Like, if you've seen the film The Craft, it's not a particularly great movie. It's often loved for nostalgia value, but she would be my choice for a Harley. And I don't know if you ever heard this. My friends make fun of me because, like, there was a newspaper clipping in The Sun, and my dad cut it out and gave it to me because it was something I was interested in. Christopher Nolan casting for The Dark Knight Rises. And one of the villains, before they even announced who the villains were going to be, was the Riddler. And Eddie Murphy was the top choice.
Oh, man, I would have loved that.
So would I, because he's one of my favorite actors of all time.
Same.
One of the reasons I wanted to become an actor.
Yeah. And
so Robin Williams, one of my favorites. Jim Carrey, one of my favorites. Eddie Murphy, one of my favorites. All 3 of them. I'd say the 3 best comedians. I'd throw Groucho Marx in, but I don't want him to play a Batman villain.
Well, yeah.
Those are my 4 favorite comedians of all time. And I cannot, like, my brain doesn't work that way, picture Eddie Murphy as a Batman villain in a Christopher Nolan film in any shape or form. Like, I want to. My brain is, like, trying, but there's, like, a block.
Dude, do you remember the internet going into meltdown when Heath Ledger was cast as the Joker?
Yep.
And how he shut every mofo in the world up.
Yeah.
The thing is with Eddie Murphy, yes, he's a terrific comedian, but the guy's also a damn good actor.
Yes.
He could play the wacky, crazy side of of Riddler, and the serious side. I think it would have been inspirational casting, because for me, the greatest actors have come from comedy. Tom Hanks, Robin Williams. They were amazing comedians and the funniest men. but they're also stellar actors because comedy is probably the hardest art form to do.
Yeah.
Particularly if you're a live stand-up comic, that is hard to translate those skills into acting the way Hanks and Williams did. Because, I mean, Robin Williams can be completely nuts, like Patch Adams and Good Morning Vietnam 1 minute.
Yeah.
And then he could do Dead Poets Society the next.
But see,
and 1 hour photo.
Williams and Carey have both done serious movies, and it just, you see it and you love it. Like 1 hour photo and Truman Show for Jim Carrey.
There you go.
And like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. But then has Eddie Murphy ever done a serious like role where it wasn't still hilarious? Like watching it, he'd still make quips like Vampire in Brooklyn, but like I don't know.
The closest was probably Boomerang, because that was a darker, more dramatic comedy. But he still had his classic Eddie Murphy touches. So, but that could have been the chance to prove himself. That could have been the chance where he says, "Well, listen, I can act."
Yeah, because I believe he can act. He's a fantastic actor.
Yeah,
I'd love to see a director like Christopher Nolan take an actor like Eddie Murphy or even like Jim Carrey and just show me the gold that would come from it. Because look at Oppenheimer. You take a bunch of actors like from different, like you've got Nickelodeon actors, you've got like Scott Grimes, you've got everyone, like these are people who are famous for like just comedy, silly roles, and he's put them in there as scientists, and you believe it.
Yeah.
And credit where credit's due, one of my friends said as soon as he saw Robert Pattinson in Tenet, he knew he was going to be a great Batman.
Again, I championed Robert Pattinson as Batman from the minute I heard he was even in the running before he was even cast. Because I watched his indie films. Twilight movies don't exist in my vocabulary. Neither do the books because they're ridiculous. But the boy can act.
Yep. And
his Haunted never takes the black off his eyes for more than like 2 scenes in the whole film. And the fact that there's more Batman in this than Bruce Wayne is why I love that film so much. But let's do that then, because we were talking about Robin Williams and we talked about Eddie Murphy.
Yep.
Tom Hanks is a Batman villain.
Okay, I like
There's
that.
a perfect Hugo Strange right there, or a perfect Two-Face even.
See, Tom Hanks said he always wanted to be a superhero in a movie. He said he doesn't want to be the guy in the chair. He doesn't want to be the butler. He doesn't want to be the commissioner. He wants to have a shield and a hammer and a cape and be a superhero. And like when they did the Watchmen TV show, before I knew it was a 1-season absolute phenomenon, I took to picketing on my social media saying, get Tom Hanks to be an older night owl.
Lovely. One character, and my favourite character from Watchmen who didn't appear in the series.
Yeah. Yeah. Because Night Owl, you like. He's a nice guy. He retired.
A real hero.
Yeah.
The only one in Watchmen, to be fair.
Yeah. Like I would have paid
to
see Tom Hanks as Night Owl.
I like that.
Okay, here's another one. Superman in the 90s, early 2000s was almost Keanu Reeves.
It's no wilder than bloody Nicolas Cage.
Yep.
And even though, again, to say that Keanu Reeves is a good actor would be a stretch, but his charisma just oozes off the screen, and whichever part he plays, you believe it.
We're talking about 90s speed Keanu Reeves, Matrix kind of Keanu Reeves. Like he was hot at the time.
Yeah.
Still hot now, but like he was a hot topic. Everyone wanted him. And
he's at the age now where he'd make a convincing Dark Knight Returns Batman.
Yeah, give him that John Wick vibe. That would do it.
Because John Wick is basically Batman who kills. Let's face it, the reason I love the John Wick films is because he's dark Batman. Which is the reason why I loved Person of Interest TV show as well, because Jim Caviezel, again, was dark Batman.
He was almost Batman.
Was he? He would have been great.
In the Bale ones, he was in the running. Him, Josh Hartnett, Cillian Murphy, they were up for it, but then the Batman like the Clooney ones, no thanks.
Josh Hartnett, more Nightwing for me, not Batman, too pretty, too baby-faced.
Tested for Superman as well.
That might have worked.
They put a picture on the internet last year, late, of him in the costume, the Superman suit, like for the screen test.
So let's go down that route then, because we talked about all the classics that we'd like to see brought back. But we know we're going to get a new Batman for the DCU in the James Gunn DC universe, right?
Yes, let's talk about that.
We know he said it categorically now. It's not going to be Jensen Ackles, which breaks my heart.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because that guy was born to be Batman. At least he did it in animation. I can deal with that.
He was also in Smallville. He was Clark's football coach for a few seasons, which was fun.
Wonderful. And again, he's a massive nerd just like we are. I mean, the fact that every Halloween I will troll Jensen Ackles' Instagram to see who he's dressed up as this year. And he does all the Batman family at one point or another. His Red Hood cosplay and his Batman cosplays. Dude, they're amazing.
When I first he did Red Hood because he voiced him in Under the Red Hood, I was like, this is amazing. Yeah, and he did Batman because he voiced Batman. He was like, Jensen Ackles, we salute you, sir. I
love you, sir. Absolutely. I'd like to be mates with you and go out for a beer with you, even though I don't even really like beer. You just come across as that kind of a person. But do you not think that, apart from the horrific difference in height, that during the peak Supernatural years, Jensen as Batman and Jared as Dick Grayson would have just been the best thing in the whole world?
He's a very popular fan cast, isn't it?
Yeah, I would have loved that. But
I'll give good money just to see Nightwing on screen. Like Brendan Thwaites in Titans was fantastic, but I'd say he was a better Robin than he was as Nightwing.
Yeah, agreed. He was still too immature. I mean, Corey was almost the grown-up of that team, rather than Dick Grayson be the leader and grown-up of that team in the series. But again, I love Titans, so I don't want to knock it too much. But
exactly the same. Like it had its faults, but it gave us a great few seasons
and a great grown-up comic book show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go back to Batman. Who do we want as Batman in the new?
That's the question, because now
people are saying Alan Ritchson because of Reacher.
Well, not just because of Reacher. As Hawk in Titans, he was wicked.
And
he's got the build. He's got the look. Aquaman. He's played half the DC universe already. And
man, he's like a Dorito though. His back and shoulders are like mammoth. He's
hench.
Guy, yeah.
He's hench. And above all, boy can act.
Yep.
That to me is the main criteria. The look is one thing, but you can bulk up. Ben Affleck bulked up like a beast for Batman versus Superman.
Get costumes fitted every week when he was filming Gone Girl.
Henry Cavill bulked up like a beast to play Superman.
David Cornsweet, the new Superman. Have you seen the leaked image of
what I've seen Cornsweet in before till now?
Yeah.
It's a different human being, dude. Gal Gadot.
Yeah.
From Fast and the Furious to Wonder Woman, people say, oh, she's too skinny. I'm sorry, compared Gal Gadot before Wonder Woman to Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, you will eat your words. She was awesome and perfect for the role. But the trouble I have with a new Batman, especially Batman paired with Damian Wayne as Robin, which I love, by the way, that's completely out of left field.
Yeah.
I don't have enough time to go to the cinema and watch films to know who would be good or not, which is why for me, Alan Richardson is someone I know.
Yeah.
Would be perfect. But is he a bit too old for David Corenswet's Superman? What I didn't like about the Snyderverse was having a Batman that was 10, 15 years older than Superman. To me, they're contemporaries. They need to be of a similar age. There can't be more than 3 or 4 years between them.
That's what James Gunn said about casting Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. They're contemporaries. They're the same age.
Exactly.
And
Nicholas Hoult, again, is a wonderful actor.
This is a Batman that has Damian as a son. So we're hoping Damian is going to be 10 or 11 if we're keeping to the 14 at a push.
Yeah.
So this is obviously this is his fourth Robin at this point, who is 10 years old.
How is he in this universe? I mean, let's remember Sean Murphy's White Knight universe, where because he came into the comic books through Batman the Animated Series and Tim Burton's Batman, he thought Jason Todd was the first Robin who died, and then Dick Grayson. Yep. So maybe in this universe, we've had Dick Grayson, and then we go straight to Damian. We don't have the Jason Todd and the Tim Drake. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen.
You say such a hurtful thing. We want all the Robins. I want all the Robins.
Then you have to have an older Batman.
Okay, give him a little bit older. A little bit older. Like how old do you have to be to have a 10-year-old son? I'd say let's go 37.
Yeah.
So you got a 37-year-old Batman,
A 30-year-old Superman.
and a 30-year-old. 7 years, okay. It's not out of the realm of possibility because obviously Batman had to train to become Batman. Superman's Superman. So you have that. And in Kryptonian years anyway, who knows how old he is? Oh, you've had a moment.
I've had a brainwave.
Hit me.
And he's played Batman in animation. And he's roughly the right age. He's married to Bitsy Tulloch, who plays Lois Lane in Superman and Lois.
Him.
He was the star of Grimm, and I loved him in it because he was almost a Batman-esque type figure. David Gintoli.
Okay.
I could totally see him as Batman.
Yeah.
I'd pay to see him as Batman. I now want to see him as Batman.
A Batman who's married to Lois Lane.
Did you ever watch Grimm?
I didn't.
Oh, Grimm's fantastic. It's supernatural level dark fantasy where creatures exist in the real world and there are hunters out to kill them, but most of them just want to live a normal family life and keep out of people's way. Yeah. And right on from literally episode one of the best friends he makes is a werewolf. Honestly, only ran for 4 seasons, but each season was better than the one in the last. And his real-time wife, Bitsy Tulloch, who plays Lois Lane, was his real-life wife in the series as well. Huh. It's 4 seasons of near-perfect TV. Watch it. And he's a hunter. He goes out fighting monsters. And to all intents and purposes, he looks like the Batman Year One Batman in real life. Google him after this. David Gintoli. Oh, man, I love that. And he'd be perfect again because he's a slightly older now, not back then because he was still young then. But he'd be the perfect foil. Remember we talked about Super Friends, that run of comics by Tom King in Batman. I could see those guys swapping costumes and doing that. Oh my God, that's my pick. I want David Gintoli for Batman. He's old enough to have a 12, 13-year-old son. He's a brilliant actor and he's got the perfect look if he bulked up.
My pick, do you remember when they were talking about Batman v Superman and who was going to be Batman? My pick back then, he's too old now, was John Hamm.
Everyone would have thought that.
And if not as Batman...
That's Alex Ross's Batman, isn't it?
Yeah. Like, have him as Batman, have him as Harvey Dent, but now... All right, if he's getting a little older, then we'll give John Hamm a pass. But who as the DCU Batman? You've got your pick. Knowing Hollywood at the moment, it's going to be Carl Urban because they can't do a film without throwing him out.
But again, that man can do no wrong, as far as I'm concerned. Dredd is the most criminally underrated comic book movie of all time, and why that never got a sequel still pains me to this very day.
Came out in a crowded year of good superhero movies.
Yeah.
That was the only thing.
But again, he's too old now, isn't he?
Yeah.
And he's so closely tied with the boys.
The boys, that's it. And he's been in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He's going to be in the Mortal Kombat sequel. He's been in Star Trek. He's been in Lord of the Rings. He's been everywhere. So
he is a geek god.
I'll say to you, what I say to my, like, you don't need to hire a big actor to be in a Star Wars film, to be in a Marvel film, or to be in a superhero film in general now. You hire an unknown good actor who is young enough to hold a franchise, good enough actor to hold the role, and the role itself will make them the star. I feel like it might have been...
Amen.
Might have been... I'm getting Arnold Schwarzenegger, Samuel L. Jackson, or Anthony Mackie. One of them said there are no longer movie stars that are famous. Like, the new Arnold Schwarzenegger film is out. There's characters. The new Captain America film is out. So if that's the case, adapt to the times. Get a relatively unknown who has experience in doing dramatic roles and just make them a bloody star. Make sure tall enough to stand eye to eye with Superman, big enough that they can bulk up, and a deep enough voice and a strong chin.
Preach. But let's go back. When Christopher Reeve became Superman, he was a virtual unknown.
Yep.
When Michael Keaton became Batman, he had more hate than Affleck did because, hang on, this is a comedian. Mr. Mom's going to be Batman. You're joking me, please.
I know the news you're talking about.
Henry Cavill was a virtual unknown when he was cast as Superman.
The Tudors was all I knew him from, yeah.
Exactly. And let's be fair, like you said, who knows, honestly, David Corenswet? They've cast him because he smashed the audition, and let's be fair, he's, again, like Cavill, like Reeve, is ripped out of the pages of a comic book. He looks like the quintessential Superman. David Gintoli has that. If you've never watched, again, you've probably never heard of David Gintoli, even though he's played Batman in animation.
In which animation?
Man. Again, you'd have to Google it. I can't, but he's played him at least twice. At least twice. Well, the guy can act. He definitely looks the part, and he's a bit older now. He's probably about 7 or 8 years older than Corenswet, so he could be a active, tenured Batman with a 12-year-old son quite easily, and he's already got ties.
You've just made me think of something that I don't know if anyone's talked about it. I don't know if James Gunn has tweeted about it. What if the Batman in this universe is dead and the Batman in Brave and the Bold is Dick Grayson?
I love you sometimes, James. Let's not forget how bloody amazing the dynamic duo of Dick Grayson and Damian Wayne was, because you had a showman, flamboyant, amazing Batman who even the police loved, and a dark, grim, brooding Robin. It turned the whole dynamic on its head, and it was gorgeous. That whole era, again, Grant Morrison, even though your New 52 Superman is one of my least favourites of all time, what you did with Batman, sir. Look at today's comics 20 years later. Zur-En-Arrh in Chip Zdarsky, Dr. Hurt in Ram V's Detective.
Do you know who else is coming to Detective? Domingo. Again,
Grant Morrison.
Yep.
He wrote it for 9 years. He wrote Batman and Batman Robin and Batman Incorporated. That whole run is one set of comics, and I've actually got those in single issues, and I've got my Grant Morrison shelf, like I do my Scott Snyder shelf, because it's that my James Tynion shelf. Oh, damn, that'd be amazing.
Because then you think of the potential. You've got Dick as Batman talking to Damian as Robin, saying, your father wouldn't like this. Your father, if he was here, and then we all
stop killing people, dude.
He always comes back. He comes back the road home, and then you've got a Nightwing who was Batman. You've got Batman who was dead. You've got everything, and you've also got Bruce Wayne Batman in the Reeves verse. So it's not as if there's not going to be any Bruce around.
You may be onto something, because I'm trying to cast my mind back to every single tweet. The trouble is, James Gunn is magnificent at tweeting and shooting down rumours and shooting stuff down. He's always said, we haven't cast Batman, we haven't cast Batman, we haven't cast Batman. I don't think James Gunn has ever mentioned the words Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
He's only said Batman's son.
Yeah.
And if he loves the original complete little shit Damian Wayne.
Yeah, he does.
That's the Dick Grayson as Batman era Damian Wayne. Because Damian Wayne now is a hero. There's no doubt about it. Regardless of Batman versus Robin, he just thought stuff was happening that wasn't. He was being manipulated and there was demons or whatever else. Oh, man. A Dick Grayson Batman movie, which could lead into his own Nightwing movie, which, again, has been something that's been on the cards and in development hell for all time.
And you think about a Brave and the Bold movie with Dick Grayson Batman and Damian Wayne Robin.
Oh, man.
Trying to bring back Bruce Wayne. Set up your own sequel. Take my money. Because then the Brave and the Bold element would be them going from person to person, hero to hero, villain to villain, and getting the MacGuffins from each of them, the information from each of them to bring back Bruce Wayne. And
who's lost in time or been captured by his worst nemesis or had his back broken by Bane. It could be anything. Dude, I love that. I love that. And again, they're already blowing people's minds by having a Robin that isn't Dick Grayson, because the amount of people out there who don't know there's been more than one Robin to this day blows my mind, when Tim Drake's been around for 30 years and Damian Wayne's been around for 20 or more. If you're going to have a brand new Robin in Damian Wayne, why not have a brand new Batman in Dick Grayson? And everyone knows who Dick Grayson is. And
James Gunn is wonderful at writing serious characters with comedy timing. And you imagine Dick Grayson
with Damian Wayne.
We've
read it. It's pure magic. Oh man. Okay, so who's Dick Grayson then? Who's that Batman?
I have a pick. And he would be perfect for it. He was in American Horror Story, and he was cast as Guy Gardner in the Green Lantern TV show. It's Finn Whitrock.
Was he not in the Hunger Games movies as well? Was that different? No, the character was called Finn. No, I'm wrong.
Oh yeah, the character.
Yeah.
But yeah, Finn Whitrock. He's got the curtain hair that Dick Grayson has, and there's a few scenes in American Horror Story where he's a bit naked, and the guy's built.
Yeah.
I could see him as the perfect Dick Grayson Batman, and then the Nightwing would come after. But then they cast him as Guy Gardner in the Green Lantern TV show that has been in production since before any of us were born.
Since before time began, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then they cast Alan Scott, and if they've cast Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner in Superman, that he ain't going to be the same Guy Gardner. So give Finn Whitrock a chance.
How old is he?
39. Look at that. He's a bit too old for you, isn't he?
Yeah. But if he looks younger, I can deal. Because then again, he's older than Superman. That can't work.
You want Superman to be the first, don't you? You want him to be the leader, the father figure, the head of the table.
Well, it's not just that. That's how it's happening. We're getting Creature Commandos first as an appetizer, then Superman Legacy, and then Brave and the Bold.
Yeah.
But I do still think your idea of a Dick Grayson Batman with a Damian Wayne Robin is inspired. And I would watch that film multiple times in the cinema.
Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow is cast. The plot, if we're going by the comics.
Please do that comic.
Supergirl has the 21st birthday, and that is how Woman of Tomorrow starts. So 21, she's become a woman, and she wants to go to a planet to get drunk. So she has to go to a planet just far enough away from a yellow sun to get drunk. So if Supergirl, let's say if they're filming and they get to that point, the actress Millie Alcock, I don't know how old she is, looks around 18, 21, then Supergirl and Dick Grayson are around the same age. You got that? So maybe you've got to have I don't know, too many strings, too many threads on this.
Yeah. And again, a fantastic topic of conversation. Because love them or hate them, the Batman media outside the comics has, over the last, since the 40s, since the black and white serials, been as inspirational as the comics. I mean, so many people, like I said, wrong or right, were brought to the comics by the Christopher Nolan movies and whatever else. We wouldn't have Sean Murphy without Batman the Animated Series and Tim Burton's Batman movies, and the world would be a poorer place, Generation Joker notwithstanding. But if it brings people to the comics, but then opens their eyes to how much better the comics are, I can deal with it. I still can't deal with the fact that so many fans see those films or TV shows as the ultimate knowledge of Batman, because it really isn't. And I love closing conversations with these people and showing them how they're wrong. But again, anything that brings attention to these characters that we love, I'm all in. I'm all in.
I think our second signature, other than going off topic, will be ending with a Steve J. Ray mic drops.
Oh, thank you. It's only two episodes so far, but if that's the way we're going to continue, I'm not going to say no to that. But I suspect after today's topic, a few James Attias mic drops coming in the very near future, because that was, again, I mean, Dan, we've been over an hour talking about this, and I've loved every second of it. So kudos, my brother. That's why you are the perfect choice of co-host for this show. Bless you. Thank you.
And it wouldn't be a show without the perfect sparring partner, would it? So, should we tell the people where they can hear more from the wonderful you?
Well, I don't know about wonderful. People do wonder about me, especially my wife. Steve J. Ray into Google. Fantastic Universes into Google, or even Steve J. Ray's Fantastic Universes into Google. That will take you across my mindless ramblings through written work, audio work, fine shows like this one, which you'll catch on the Fantastic Universes Podcast Network. The DC Comics News Podcast Network has the main DC Comics News podcast, and I Am the Night with my cub and co-conspirator Adam Ray, who will be the guest on issue 3 of Detective Comics.
Wow.
Coming soon, watch this space. And that's where you'll find me. But where can we find Detective Comics 27? Sorry, DC 27. James Attias DC 27.
Well, if you type in James Attias into Google, you'll find out there was someone by that name who was a producer on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So don't do that. But if you type in James Attias DC 27 into Twitter, X, then you'll find me. And also, I write a few reviews for darkknightnews.com. So check those out for more of my witty comments and praise of Tom King and Tom Taylor and loathing any kind of continuity error.
And you have a true gift, my friend, a true gift. A few reviews. You write most of the reviews for the site. And you're still the person I never, ever, ever, ever have to chase. So thank you for that. And again, why you're perfect for this show. So bless you and thank you. So with that being said, this has been issue 2 of Detective Comments.
Join us again soon. Same bat time, same bat channel.